What are you making?
I am making popcorn. I know, you're like, wow, she sells cookbooks with that? So this popcorn is, well, it started because I had made kale chips one time, and I actually put them on my website, and people really like kale chips, but I actually hated them. And I said this, I'm like, this did not convert me to kale. Like, I tried. I thought they tasted terrible. And so I didn't know what to do with them. And so I ended up grinding them into a powder and tossing them with popcorn. And then in the back of my mind, I was thinking, you know, this is good, but this would be really good if you would put some more ingredients in here, like salt and pepper and Pecorino cheese. And it became this kale, pecorino, and olive oil popcorn. And I hadn't really made it in a while, and then I sort of dusted off the recipe when I always had, when my son was in preschool, I always got volunteered to bring food for snack week, which is good and bad. I think what I'd realized is that some of the teachers had figured out what I did for a living, or maybe read this site. And then it was like I couldn't just bring banana muffins. Like it was like the most exhausting weeks of my life. So one time I brought in this kale pecorino popcorn, and they loved it. It was like such a great kid snack too, because it's like fun and crunchy and salty, but it's also you know, pretty wholesome in a way. I like to put a couple kernels in and see for them to pop, and once those pop, you're in pretty good shape to put the rest in. So we're waiting for a pop. Don't worry, guys. I brought emergency backup popcorn if this doesn't work. I always come prepared. All right, they kind of half popped. We're gonna get these going. So anyway, to make kale chips, the standard way is usually that you're gonna, you know, maybe pull it off. I actually like this because I just tear it off my hands, and you can do it in nice big pieces. And you, by the way, could also buy kale chips. But what we're going to be tossing the popcorn with is this lovely thing over here called kale dust. And this is the ground up kale chips. So what I found is that I actually like, for this purposes, to not toss it with oil, to actually just make sure it's not going to stick to your tray. You could put parchment paper down. You could very lightly oil it. You can just roast it. You bake it at a low temperature for about 20 minutes, and you want to get nice big chips, which look like bag number 4. You can see I did all my own prep here, which look like this. So you take them, and you can do this in a mortar and pestle. You can do this in a blender or food processor. I haven't been able to find my mortar and pestle since I moved this summer, but I found my muddler, which I've probably used once since mojitos came into fashion. And you can actually just smash it up any old way. And this is why you want a nice dry chip. I usually do them at 300 degrees for about, the curly ones you can do for about 20 minutes, but these guys usually 10 to 15 is sufficient. So you get a nice, you see I keep a really nice professional clean mise here. So you get a nice powder, takes a minute. All right, as soon as I open this, you know what's gonna happen. Those last kernels are gonna decide to pop. But anyway, the rough idea is that, oh yeah, no, we didn't get good pops here. We're going to use this, and then we're gonna put a little bit more olive oil on. You don't need a lot. And then we are going to put a good amount of salt on here, because just trust me. And I like to use a good fine sea salt for this, because you really want it to be able to get in there. Use a little bit of pepper. I already have some grated, but you would grate some pecorino on here. We're going to use about half a cup for this amount. I think for the whole amount we might use a little bit more. And then we're going to use the kale dust, because kale dust makes it healthy. That's what makes it healthy. Ignore all that cheese. It's all about the kale dust. And then we're going to toss it all together. And I know you're thinking you don't like kale chips, but I really feel like this is better. It's fun. It's a really fun snack. And unless you guys all run out of here screaming and clutching your throats, it might end up in the next cookbook. That's sort of the plan. I mean, we'll have to see how people react, especially with all those unpopped kernels in there. Anyway, so that's the rough idea. And we have kale.
Yay!
Here, wow.